Inspiring voices, building worlds. The Ampliverse.
Welcome to the Autistic Delicatessen. What you eat, what you drink is your story.
Variety is the spice of life.
Food is often people's first experience of a new culture.
Welcome to the Autistic Delicatessen,
Season 4.
and welcome to another edition of the Autistic Delicatessen, our Season 4 finale. I'm your host, Larnell, an autistic person, along with my guest co-host filling in for Oni, Belgi, who is also an autism mom. Our guest today is going to be a talented artist, a talented chef, a person that's also a foodie too as well, Mystic. She has a current release, and it's entitled Dreamin' in Cursive, The Girl Who Loved Sparklers. And do you remember, Belky, as a kid, like whenever there would be fireworks, you had those sparklers? Because I remember when I was a kid, there'll be sparklers just like coming out, just like it was always interesting to see, though.
Yes. I mean, living in New York, I didn't see as many as I would have liked to see because obviously in New York City, it's kind of hard to just be lighting things up everywhere. So it was more like a 4th of July thing when you would see sparklers around. But yeah, it's beautiful. And my kids love it, especially my one son. Like you put a sparkler around him and he's like watching every single bit of it until it dies down.
Ah, okay. Now, is that one of your son's stems, though? Just watching it very intensely?
Yes, and we have we videotape. Well, not videotape. We video with the phone. I'm so old. That tells you. We take videos usually on the phone, and he still watches some of the 4th of July videos so that he can see the things pop and fireworks and all that. So, yeah, loves it.
That should be a nice conversation with Mystic and talking about her Miss Mandy's Kitchen, which is an Instagram that she has showing all her food and all that stuff.
Ooh,
So
that sounds awesome. Yeah.
yes, I definitely want to talk to her about the risotto that she makes. She makes some good risotto. So
You know how hard risotto is to make? Like if you master risotto, you have mastered something really difficult. Like I've always had issues with my risotto because of being Dominican and so used to making the regular kind of rice that whenever I have to make risotto, it's kind of like, oh, but then as the years have gone by, I've gotten a little bit better, but then I found this machine that kind of does the risotto for me. So I'm like, okay, now I have to learn to make it. But yeah, it's very hard to make risotto.
oh man, I can only imagine though, because I'm a person that is just a foodie and just eats that stuff. So
Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah,
I could have some risotto right now, like now that we're talking about it.
yes. So what would you say, Belky, is your favorite risotto that you like to make?
Well, the one that I like the most that I've made so far is lobster risotto. So it's the risotto and it has chunks of lobster in it. So it's almost a lobster bisque, but instead of it being soupy, it's rice. It's like,
Ah, dang,
yeah, it's really good.
dang.
Really good.
I- i- If I ever come by your place, Belky, you gotta make some of that risotto right there. I would
I
want
would
to try that.
make it. I would totally make it. It's so simple, you would not believe it because I'm using my machine to do it. So I'll have to show it to you.
Oh, definitely. I would like to see. I would like to see that though. So can't wait to have Mystic on for our conversation.
Very excited.
And also at the end of our show, just to make sure I remember this, we have a big announcement talking about the future of this show, what's going to happen. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that.
Definitely.
But first off, during our host chat, I just have to say, Belky, I finally got a chance to see the movie Chef.
Yes.
Now, so I'm. It's
What are
just.
your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What did you walk away with?
Well, I walked away with the fact of like for John Favreau's character as Chef Carl Casper, basically that chefs are artists and that spend more time with your kid, and then also too like knowing the joys of having a food truck.
Yes. I mean, I would love to have a food truck myself. It's just that's hard. It looks hard. Like, how do you cook out of a truck?
Ah,
Because you think about water, you think about all the things that I'm sure they have it figured out, but
yeah.
just the thought about all of that being that I don't know what it takes, like it's kind of scary, but the movie was wonderful. And I don't know if you know, but they also have a series on Netflix that came from the inspiration of that show that he is the host of because he loves food so much that he went out there, produced this show. And because of, the C word that we went through the last few years, I think the last couple seasons were not as many episodes, but whatever episodes he did put out were really good episodes and so worth watching. So once you start watching it, you're not going to stop. You're going to like just binge it all because it's that good.
Oh man, yeah, definitely, yes. Now I don't know if you've seen this other food show, Belky, but it's from like Padma Lakshmi called like Taste of the
Oh,
Nation,
yes.
like Taste the Nation,
Seen it.
like
I haven't seen the second one because I'm hoping to download it and watch it on the plane because I'm going to the UK in about 10 days. So I figure I have so many long flights that I'm going to try to watch as much as I can in the plane, but I cannot wait because I love that show too. Yeah.
yes, yes,
You watched it
definitely.
already?
I haven't seen the new season just yet because I've been just watching so many other shows, so it's like I have to get to that though. But yeah, like Padma, like, you know, I haven't like in all honesty, I haven't watched her on Top Chef. I've heard about her from Top Chef, but I saw this one to where like I just like the way of how she's able to go to these different cultures and be able to have conversations because it's not just about food. It's kind of like a little anti-Bourdainish,
Yeah.
but it's more about the culture and food and the connections with it because she's not just talking about how much she likes the food, but it's other things in there. So in some ways, she's kind of like a journalist in her series, which I
Yeah.
like. To where
And
it's a
you know
mixture.
what else I like about this show?
Mm.
She's a woman. Most
Ah.
of these shows are men, right? Let's say
Mhm.
Giada is a different one, but Giada's been around for a gazillion years, and so has Padma. But still, it's another woman that's leading a show about food and traveling and all that. So I totally love it. Also because it's a woman and a strong woman.
Yes, and also a woman of color, like an
Yeah,
Indian woman too. So yeah,
yeah. So they have a lot going in there. So that's great. I love it.
yeah, definitely. It's kind of like our show in some ways, but
There you go.
yes. Although one of these days we do need to like travel and go outside and really just.
Yeah, we have to make it happen somehow. We have to do it.
You were saying you went by a pizza place.
Oh yeah, so I'm in Arizona. You know that the pizza here is not bad at all. It's just not New York pizza. And then there's
Okay.
places that claim it's New York pizza. And then you get there and the pizza's good. It's just not really New York pizza, even though they say it is. And so I went to this new place and it was actually pretty close to New York pizza. I'm very excited that I found this place. And then the menu is all based on New York style cooking. So if it's the pizza obviously, but everything down to like the dishes, like the pastas, I also had like the pasta pomodoro. Oh my god, it was so good.
Oh
It,
man.
the tomato sauce, and then they had like the really really thin angel hairish pasta. Oh, it was so good. I even bought one home because it was so good. I wanted to have more, so I bought an extra one and bought it home so that I could have it in the next couple of days. So yeah, so I was very excited. So that's one more place for me to go aside from Grimaldi's. So
Oh man.
excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Food,
When
food makes the heart just so happy. So yeah.
yeah. Because when you mentioned about the pasta from that pizza place, I was just imagining it because it's like kind of like white with the cheese around it, right? Kind of like the white seasoned pasta or something.
The pomodoro?
Yes.
No, the pomodoro is a tomato sauce.
Oh, tomato sauce mixed in with. Okay,
Tomato
that's right.
sauce, and it's very light. It's not like a thick pasta. Like it almost feels like they took not almost feels, it is. It's the actual tomato, and then it's kind of blended down where it's on the pasta, but it's not thick at all. It's just light, and then they have a lot of shaved cheese over top. And obviously, you can add more if you want to. It's just very simple, but has so much flavor. So now I have to master how to make that pasta because I'm obsessed with it, and I just have to learn how to make it.
Oh
Now it's
man.
like a must. I have to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, let's go ahead and get into our conversation with Mystic. So
Yes.
here it is. Brilliant and beautiful days, Mystic. Welcome to the Autistic Delicatessen. I thought I would take your saying.
Greetings so much. Greetings and brilliant days to you, beautiful people. It is such an honor to be here with you today.
We're very excited to have you. So we're
Oh,
gonna
thank you.
party for the next few minutes, getting to know
L-
you. We're
Let's
very
do it.
excited. Yes.
Let's talk about you recently made Mystic in the past a mushroom and pumpkin risotto. So you want to
Oh,
tell us
yes.
like the inspiration for that dish and how you put it all together?
Yeah, yeah. So that was one of those things. I often look around the kitchen to see what I have. And when I go to Costco, every once in a while they have these big things of organic mushrooms that are on sale, and I always buy them. Mushrooms have powerful properties for our bodies and connect to our immunity in really important ways. And so I had those mushrooms, and we also had pumpkin here in the kitchen. So I did a little bit of research and already knew there were mushroom risottos, and then I looked at pumpkin risottos, and then I just went in and did my own thing. I often read recipes, not to copy the recipes, but to look at the methods
Yes.
by which people are preparing their foods, and so it was exciting to make that risotto, and my mom really loved it.
Yeah, it looked nice. Yeah.
I was telling Larnell that risotto is actually really hard to make, and I that's because of me being Latina. We're used to like regular rice, just kind of dry,
Yeah.
and then you have to make risotto. It's like a whole other thing.
There's the patience aspect.
Yes, and then I hear that it has to be like there's consistency where it's like past good, where it gets too gooey. So you have to
Yeah.
have the consistency totally right. And then I told Larnell that I cheated because I have this machine that makes So I'm like, yep, I'm just gonna make the risotto in the machine.
Yeah, I call it a love risotto is a love food. I
Mhm,
often talk about cooking as a form of meditation. It's really
mhm.
balancing to me. And there are what I call just like love foods, love dishes. These are things that often take hours or sometimes even days, or when I start to prep for kind of like fall celebration meals, I'm prepping for those for months at a time. Smoking the turkey on one day, making sure the greens are growing okay in the garden, pre-making my stocks and freezing those and labeling everything. I'm really particular about organization in the kitchen. I like alphabetize my spices and all of those
Oh my God,
things.
that's what my mother-in-law does. She has like a little lazy Susan. And
Yeah,
she's
yeah. We've
like
got
she goes
spices
in a
all
circle and
over.
she finds everything so easily. I'm like, wow, look at you.
It can be super helpful. And I think to tag back to risotto, that we can read recipes, and this is for all kinds of recipes, and they will say cook it for 45 minutes or cook it whatever the time is, but all of our stoves are different. All of our cookware is different. And so we have to use, I think, all of our senses, our sight, our smell, the sound, and just like there's something that happens as something becomes ready where you can see it or you can hear it or you can smell it. And risotto is just one of those things you keep an eye on. You want it a little bit al dente, right? Because we don't want it too mushy.
Al
And
dente.
then yeah, as you saying, when we're making like Mexican rice, which I also make as well, I would be horrified if it turned out mushy. I
Or
would be
hard
like,
because sometimes it even turns out where you don't put enough
yeah,
liquid and it can turn
yeah,
out like really hard and you have to add more water and hope that it like, softens up a little bit. Yeah, I had
exactly,
those nightmares
exactly.
when I was younger and I was learning to cook, but yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think rice of any kind of can make people feel a little bit hesitant, right? I don't wanna mess it up, but the way that we learn to do it is to try it out, and it's rice, right? It's probably, more economically safe to try it out with just kind of a rice that is not so expensive as maybe a rice we might use in a risotto, and learn your pots, and learn your stove. Right? Because that's part of my thing of, like, wanting to share recipes is my mom and I can our own foods. We have a gas stove. The temperature of that stove can be different, and so I'm always thinking about how can somebody actually make this in their kitchen, and I've come to the point where all I can do is give the ingredients and encourage love and encourage experimentation and
yes.
just here's what works for me. Hopefully, it can be a framework for what can work for you.
Yeah.
I like how you add in Mystic about experimentation because it makes me think about your music and the years of your art
Mm.
and then going on into your activism. So would you say that when you start to go into cooking, like of course like Miss Mandy's Kitchen, your other Instagram page besides your own Instagram page for your like music and arts,
Yeah.
Would you say the activism and the art and your music all encompass your cooking that you learned from your mom over the years? Was your mom ever into like activism as well as cooking and caring about like, preserving the food or anything? If you can explain that.
Yeah, yeah, so, like, all the parts and pieces of who I am are interconnected. I don't know that I always appreciated that, right? Because it felt different than other people I might have grown up with. But to connect it all together, I spent some time growing up my summers and what have you on an organic farming collective that was hundreds of acres and learning to plant plants, teaching myself to cook on a wooden stove in a house that was only solar powered.
Ah,
We would heat our water on top of that stove,
hmm,
and so I had, like, joy of cooking and all kinds of things, and as a kid, I would organize the other kids on the farm to go out in the fields and pick things, and then we would make the recipes, and we would create a show and dance and sing and play piano. So there's part of the food that came from that, and my mom would say with the food, as I started to get a little bit older, I really pushed back in the kitchen. My mom wanted to raise me vegan. She's always been interested in organic foods, healthy foods, holistic healing approaches. And so she told me I should just cook for myself if I wasn't happy with her food. And I did. So I was cooking full course meals by the time I was probably about 9 or 10. But I had
dang.
been cooking prior to that. I
You're
also
like,
was
well, I
raised
started
without,
young.
yeah,
I
yeah.
started
I
at
was also
12. I'm
raised
like, oh,
without a
wait.
television. Yeah, I was raised without a television because my mom was really concerned about how I would see depictions of women and girls and how that might impact how I felt about myself or how I view myself. So I was raised with a lot of reading and writing, and my mom put me in the theater when I was in elementary, and I was in the ballet when I was in elementary, and my mother has been an activist my entire life. She was a farm worker organizer when she was in school herself. She was and that was back in Virginia and what I call like the southern part of the country. And it was during a time period where still white and black people coming together was not only frowned upon, but could have severe consequences. And she helped black students run for student office. So from my mother came examples of how to be dedicated to our community. She also helped people get asylum in the 80s coming from Nicaragua and Guatemala. She worked at the Legal Aid Society. She was a farm worker organizer in Visalia, which is part of the Central Valley. And so I got those. And so to answer your question, my art reflects who I am, including my activism and including my love of food. It's all interconnected. I love feeding the people who I love. I love feeding people who I've never fed. I love exchanging cultures across food. And so, yeah, I got it from my mama, but she also allowed me a lot of freedom and support to develop as an activist, understanding that my experience in the world as a black woman, a woman who identifies as black, and her experience as a white woman would be different. And this informs everything about me.
And I think, Mystic, that is so interesting that you said that. And also, I was thinking in my mind while I was hearing you is that you and Belky could be friends though, because offhand she was saying like how she cooks a lot and bakes for her PTA in
Yeah.
Arizona. So it's like, you both can
Oh,
probably
nice.
just collaborate together and just cook food and just be like cooking buddies or something. So
Yeah. What is that one meal that you would say is your staple? So let's say somebody's coming over and you want to super impress. Which meal would you make?
Oh gosh, I'm always looking at what's in season oftentimes and what is actually at the market and taking inspiration. But I would say one of them is a baked salmon. My mom says I am great with salmon. I take a wild salmon, and as a method of preparation, I mix some sea salt with water and I soak the salmon for 30 minutes. Well, I debone it if there's bones, and then I soak it for 30 minutes. I dry it off, I rub it with some olive oil, I put salt and pepper, I might put some tarragon on it, and then I start to I also put some homemade pickled mustard seed on it, and then I start to layer it with tomatoes and red onions and capers and just kind of whatever inspires me on that day. And I can either cook that on the grill on like a wooden plank, or I slow cook it in the oven at a lower temperature, maybe 300, so I'm not overcooking the salmon. And then, some fresh veggies. I love steamed veggies. I love grilled veggies. It depends
Oh,
on what's
same
in
here.
season.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And, either like a rice or a pasta, or I love making garlic mashed potatoes with
Oh my
roasted
God, yes.
garlic.
Mm-hmm.
Roast a head of garlic in the oven, and then just mix that in with a ton of butter, ton of butter. There's people who say that our mashed potatoes should only be made with butter, not with milk or cream. I do add a little bit of milk, and I also add whipped cream during the holidays.
I think my mom would disown me if I didn't add the milk. My mom would be like,
Yeah, well, I think I like the texture. I like the texture of it, but the tons of butter is super important. So that would be I would probably just yeah, I love cooking seafood. Or I have this like clay pot that you soak, and then you can put a chicken in it, and you put it in a cold oven with all your spices. You don't have to add lots of butter or liquids to it. And the reason you add it to a cold oven is as it starts to steam, it cooks the chicken inside, and it makes it so moist and so flavorful, and then for, like, and you cook it for maybe an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half, dependent on how large your chicken is, and then you take the lid off for the last 30 minutes, and it crisps up across the top. And the reason I love to do that for people is just because it's so simple, and I think that we need to be reminded often of the simplicity of good food is,
doesn't have to
it's
have a ton of
timeless.
seasoning or a ton of toppings.
Yeah,
Sometimes something very simple can have the flavor, and like you said, just having that very moist chicken, like I'm really
yeah,
good at a moist
yeah.
turkey, which a lot of people don't like turkey, and I'm like, you just have to prepare it the right
Yeah,
way.
do you brine your turkey?
I do. I do. And I do it differently. I never do it the same way. Like I might decide one what to do it more like with Latin spices, anise, and all these different things.
Yeah,
And then another time I just do like a salt, and that's it. So it depends on how I feel. And then I started also butterflying the turkey, so that way it cooks
yeah,
much faster. And then, because I tend to host, so therefore it just gets
yeah.
done a lot quicker, and I have more space to cook other things too, because
How long do you brine for? I'm just really curious.
overnight,
Overnight, yeah,
sometimes, and it depends, like you said, also the size of the bird, right? But
yeah,
24
yeah.
hours or overnight, but I tend to do more overnight than 24 hours. So
Yeah, I sometimes do a few days, but I'm really careful about the ingredients that are added in. I don't add my citrus in until the last maybe 12 hours because the citrus will cook the meat and make it mushy. I'm careful about the amount of salt I use when I'm doing that. Um, but yeah, sometimes I'll do a long brine.
yeah, I'd
Wow.
say like you said, it just depends on how you feel, what you want to do, what your sides are going to be. Are people going to bring sides
Yeah,
to help you out? And then I
yeah.
think all of it just kind of, depends on what others are going to be helping you with, at least in my.
Absolutely, I think it's so much about feeling, and, like, if we think I think of cooking as an art.
Yes.
My music is art. I think of life as art. I think love as art, right? There's art to all of it, and I think of art as being sacred. And I think of it being driven by and informed by love, right? And so I'm agreeing with you in the sense that it's about how I feel on any given day, on any given moment. It can
Yeah.
change from day to day, change from week to
That's why,
week.
I don't know if you do these things, but a lot of people do like the weekly menu for that they're gonna. I cannot do a weekly menu because I go
Yeah,
by how I feel that day. And what do I
yeah.
have? Or maybe I go buy what I need. Today I feel like having some shrimp, so I'm gonna make some shrimp and some tomato, like some diced tomatoes, and I'm gonna do bacon in it too. I'm gonna like cook the bacon separately and then add it at the end. It's so good, and then add a little bit of spice to it, so it has a kick to it.
Oh,
But
I
that
want to
is
come to
like,
your house.
I'm sorry.
I said I want to come to your house.
I know you
Minus
should
the
come.
bacon because I don't eat pork, but everything
Oh,
else
okay.
sounds great.
Okay, so you can do turkey bacon, right? So that's another
Yeah,
one
yeah.
that too.
Duck bacon, beef bacon.
Yeah, they have everything nowadays. It's
I know.
insane. So
Duck
things like
bacon?
that.
Hmm.
Duck bacon.
Yeah, it's really good actually.
When you mentioned that, Mystic, I never heard of duck bacon. I've always heard of like more pig bacon and all those stuff, but not duck bacon. It's like that's
There is duck bacon. Think
Mhm.
about how
hmm.
much fat there is
Yeah,
on a duck, right? And however they make it, it can be, nothing tastes like pork bacon, right? It's
Ah,
not like I've never had pork bacon. The smell of pork bacon is still just really wonderful to me. There's nothing like it. And duck bacon you can often use and then add it to other recipes. I don't necessarily just sit down and eat it, but because of the fun of the fat content and also because of the flavor of the duck fat. You can get just buy things of duck fat,
yeah.
or if you
ah.
cook a duck, you can collect your own oil, and then you can do your baked
Larnell is
potato.
shocked.
Yeah, you
Ah.
can chop up potatoes, toss it in the duck fat with your spices, and then pop it in the oven, and you've got this additional layer of flavor. That's so awesome. So the same way you would use like pork bacon
Uh-huh.
to season something or a ham hock in greens, you can use the specific flavors of duck fat and duck bacon for that.
Yeah, because really, Mystic, it's very interesting because again, like for me, I've had pork bacon and also I had
Yeah.
more of like turkey bacon, more of like the organic type of
Yeah.
stuff, which
Yeah.
I like both pork bacon and turkey bacon. So
I
duck
like
bacon is
turkey bacon
just
too.
oh yeah, but like duck
Do you
bacon
like
is
crispy bacon?
oh crispy. Look, I'm from the South. I like crispy stuff. So
So I gotta
yeah.
ask you, this is another one of those things I like to ask people. How do you make your turkey bacon crispy?
Well, I don't make it, but I just eat it though. So
Oh,
I'm
nice.
just
Lucky
I,
you.
I'm
Lucky
just an
you.
eater. I'm not a cook. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I normally make regular, like pig bacon, and the turkey bacon. I've had it a few times, but I normally just put it on the skillet, and but it's not my favorite, so it's very rare that I use it, other than when
Yeah, I
somebody
think if
gives
you
me
slow
one.
cook it, if you put it in a nice pan, a cold pan, and you really slow cook it, you might even add a little butter for a little extra fat flavor. As the oil starts to, and you need some oil for turkey bacon because
It's
it's
very dry.
very low fat. It's dry. And then you slow cook it. And that's how I get the crispy turkey bacon.
Ooh,
I know
now
some
I
people
want
do it
like
in the oven.
well, not BLT. Now I want like a turkey club or something.
I know. I feel like I'm hungry talking about all
I
this
can,
food.
I can see myself like
Being your
with
first food conversation.
I know, but there's so much to talk about food. We could talk
Mhm.
endlessly and do this for
Yeah,
hours. There's
yeah,
cultural aspects, there's health aspects, there's methods and approaches, there's our personal connections with food and connection with our memories and just yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and for that, Mystic, we might have to invite you back on as a guest to talk about that other stuff. Because because right now I really like I really want to get into your music real quick though.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, so like the first time, like I was telling Belky this, but the first time I've heard your stuff was from The Life, early 2000s, and that was the time of the neo soul movement, like with Erica Badu,
Mhm.
Guapale,
Yeah. Yeah.
Flowetry, um,
Mhm.
just like different ones coming out of the
India
gate.
Arie.
India Ari too, as well, now stuff. But it's interesting. I was reading like an interview that you did with BT.com, a recent one that you did, and you
Yeah.
mentioned how like you were a part of, or you were part of the collective like Digital Underground with like the late Shock G, rest in peace,
Yes,
and
rest in peace.
and you were known as DU Goddess. And you were
Yes.
mentioning in that interview how really Shock G was like a mentor for you in terms of like how you are as an artist. So do you want to like explain a little bit about that and why that was?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had already been on like commercial records and stuff by the time I became a member of Digital Underground. And I try to be careful with my language because a lot of stuff writes of me of previous, like, I was once a member. I am still a member. There is no end. Digital Underground is a family and a crew. And I started out as strictly a rapper, as an MC, a master of ceremonies that was building on my background as a creative writer and a poet. And so I never wanted to sing. I had a mentor, she's still a dear sister of mine. She's called The Angel. She is a producer. She scores films. She's amazing. And you think about hip hop as being this male dominated genre, and how powerful was it that I started off with a mentor who's a woman and a producer, that I started off with a woman as my manager. And so the Angel is the first person who ever got me to sing on a record. She had me do some harmonies on a song called "Okay, Alright." We did some harmonies. There was a Blue Note remix project in which I wrote a poem to accompany a remix of Kofi by Donald Byrd. It was an entire remix project. And so, but I still didn't really want to sing. And then I was like going around in Oakland and the Bay Area performing wherever I could. And I started meeting like Money B from Digital Underground. We started doing shows in Clee and Cullen and just hieroglyphics and all the people. And there was this brother Tyranny who was a member of Digital Underground. I was also cool with Saphir, who was a member of Digital Underground. So I'm right next to all these people, right? Knowing them. And one day Tyranny said, Shock G wants you to come over. He has this idea. He wants to like meet you, right? Ta, the sun shines, the light comes out. I go over to his house and he's living by the lake and he starts playing keys. A lot of people know Shock as, Humpty and all his different
The
characters
Humpty
and
dance, I remember that.
the Humpty
Yeah,
Dance,
yeah.
all of that, but he was the most masterful piano player, right? And there was nothing like listening to him play the keys in his house or a hotel lobby or a hotel room or on stage. But so he starts playing keys, and he and I spent the entire night singing and rapping back and forth with each other. And he decided that he would bring me in to cover a song called Gloomy Sunday. And I sang it. And I had never done that before, and I had never had any desire to do it before. But so we did this. And at this point, I'm on my way into becoming a member of Digital Underground, and I must have been 20 when we recorded that, but I was on my way in, maybe starting that journey when I was late 19 or mid 19, linking with Money B and everybody. But anyways, I come back from Miami. Pac was murdered while I was in living in Miami. I come back and I am made to be a member of Digital Underground, right? Shakti, I remember him coming to my 21st birthday, and he had blue hair. And I remember him walking in the sunshine. That's why I so vividly remember it. But, anyways, becoming a member of Digital Underground, the way that Shock mentored me is that music is music, right? Like, do what you feel. And I was so concerned about representing as a hip hop artist, right? MCs don't sing. We don't do that. But every member of Digital Underground, even if they don't sing on records behind the scenes, everybody's singing. We're singing on the tour bus, we're singing on the floors of airports, we're, having fun with each other. And so I just really learned this freedom and to claim the totality of who I am. And so I think that that deeply informed how I went to make that first Cuts for Luck and Scars for Freedom album. I had never made an album before, but I went in with this very clear idea that of what I wanted to create. The life was as a song was the was the first singing song I wrote and recorded and did all the things like myself, right? And I'm surrounded by hip hop people and I'm like, I don't know, does it sound okay? Is there a different note? And they're like, I don't know. I don't do singing. And so I just had this freedom to be who I was, and Shock really helped me to claim that. And he also, Digital Underground is known as a really fun group, and it is, because we need to practice joy, and we need to love life, and we need to celebrate. But also, if you look at members like myself and like Tupac, and even stuff that comes from Mun, and a bunch of the people who are in digital, around digital, are the children of Black Panthers. My mom was not a Black Panther, but she was her own activist. And so you look at some of us who came through that digital underground family, and yeah, we are the children of activists, and we make music that you can celebrate to. Or a lot of my stuff is about healing, right? Because I experienced trauma. But I can never give a short answer when I'm talking about Shock. I miss my brother. He was not just a mentor, he was my brother, and he was an inspiration. And he helped to save my life, because I was this broken Black girl from experiencing trauma, but he was able to see that I had this heart full of love, and I had something to offer to the world. So I am forever grateful for him and the rest of my family and crew for embracing me and loving me, and making me feel safe enough to be whoever I want to be.
That's super important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And we appreciate that story and all that stuff, you know.
Thank you.
Yes, and honestly, like definitely like check out Mystic's current release, Dreaming in Cursive, the girl that loved sparklers, like, currently out.
Exactly.
You can find on Spotify, you can find it on Apple
Uh-huh.
Music, correct? And as well as on
Title, all of them, all the platforms. The
Perfect.
release is on my own label. My label is
Oh,
called
perfect.
Beautiful Soundworks, which is about, I have this idea, and I put it forth, called Beautiful Resistance. My second album was called Beautiful Resistance. And I believe that as parents, as educators, as artists, as whoever we are, that we can engage in these small acts of beautiful resistance that, when they're put together, help to transform our communities and our world. And as you know, I say to people, I call them beautifuls, right? Hey, beautifuls, but that's with two L's, representing that we are full of the capacity and the power within ourselves to transform ourselves and transform our communities, and push for more justice and more love and safer communities for our children, and equity and education and all these pieces. So Beautiful Soundworks is about doing that beautiful resistance work through sound.
Wow. I love it. Yeah.
where can people find your stuff as well as follow you on Instagram or any other social media outlets?
I am that girl Mystic, Mystic, and I am that girl Mystic on Instagram, on Twitter. You can search for it on YouTube. I think you can even search for it on Facebook, although I don't really use Facebook. You can find it on Clubhouse, although I'm not super on there all the time. But so I can be found across social media. I can also be found under That Girl Mystic on Bandcamp. And so if you are in, I am an independent artist. I have an independent label. I really do it myself, right? As I'm able to afford to do it, which is why I thank you guys for having me on, and providing a space to talk about my art and talk about my love of food. The more people that I can connect with, the more that I can spread art that is about love, and about the need for love, and the community. So, you can go to Bandcamp and you can actually independently buy those, and the money goes directly to me after the split that they do. There's also some songs on Bandcamp for Beautiful Resistance that you cannot hear on any of the streaming platforms, because I could not clear the samples. And so if you are interested in those, you can head over there, and I think you can even download them for free, and you can put together the album on your own. On Instagram, though, I am That Girl Mystic. I also have Miss Mandy's Kitchen. Um, my birth name is Mandolin. My mama calls me Mandy. I currently teach kindergarten. All of my students call me Miss Mandy. So Miss Mandy's kitchen is where my food is. Beautiful Soundworks is where my label is. And then accompanying Dreaming in Cursive, there are these visuals that will eventually make up a short film called a Black Love Trilogy. And so I have a Black Love Trilogy account on Instagram as well. And a Black Love Trilogy is just to as a story, it's about uplifting the beauty of Black love and the importance of the journey of a Black love story because we live in a world where we're not celebrated and valued, whether we are Black or Brown or Indigenous or living in economically vulnerable communities. And the last thing I just want to say to you guys, as two beautiful people of color, and to everybody who's watching, is that we are so beautiful and we are so amazing and diverse and worthy and important and powerful and magic. And don't ever let the world take that away from you in your kitchen, in your art, in your
Yes.
home, in your classroom, or just like your entire life.
And
Live it as art and love. So
yeah.
that's it.
And with that, Mystic, we'd like
That's
to
so
just
well
like thank you for coming on again. Like, check out her
Thank you.
social media outlets, and again, Mystic, thank you so much for just coming on.
You're amazing. I'm gonna
Oh
follow
my
you
goodness, please
everywhere.
let's
So
connect. I'd love to talk food more. Thank you guys for having me here. It is an honor. And
absolutely.
as I get older and older, there's very few things that are the first that I do. So thank you for being my first food conversation. And I can't wait to share it with the world.
And that was Mystic here on the Autistic Delicatessen. And Belky, real quick, like, what did you think about that conversation?
I I fell in love with her, first of all. I mean, what an amazing woman. The passion that comes out of her, like every single pore
Yeah.
of her body, you feel it. It's those are the kind of people that I love to talk to because there you go. Just the passion, everything, and everything they have to say has meaning, right? So that's I loved her. I don't know. How did you feel?
Yeah, well, I just appreciate her spirit and even the idea of cooking is an art. You know, it's just it's like watching Chef to where like Chef Carl Casper, John Favreau's character was all about the art of cooking and the love of it, you know, and I feel like that's all in Mystic as well as her music and activism. So again, like we've only scratched the surface
Did
with
you
her, but
notice it? Did you notice like when she was talking about the food and how she prepares it, almost like a song. She was like very like da 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 da, and I'm like, yep, she's definitely a singer
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
the way she delivered just that alone was poetic, was beautiful, and I'm like, man, she could make that into a song and people would love it, you know? So yeah, she's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, definitely. So appreciate her now. And now we're gonna go ahead and get into our announcement that we mentioned at the top of the show in terms of what's gonna happen next season.
Yes.
And I just have to say, again, Belky, I thank you so much for really stepping in, like as a guest co-host, filling in for Oni, and really just bringing so much light and
Thank
personality
you.
to this show. That man, like I just have to say right now that folks, you're going to be seeing more of that because Belky is going to be, as of season 5, our official co-host of this show. So
Oficialmente.
yes.
Yes.
So anyway, Belky, off of that announcement right there, like, what do you think and all that stuff? Like,
I'm
and
excited. I mean, I wasn't expecting, to be invited to join, you on this podcast, but I understand the situation and why you needed to find someone to take over. So I'm just excited because, I'm bringing in the Latina in me. I'm bringing in, a different flavor. So it's good at the same time, although we will miss, right, Oni. But I think that this is a great opportunity for us to see where can we take this.
and speaking of that, Belky, right now here's a message from Oni, and Oni will tell you the rest. Take it away, Oni.
Cheers, Larnell, for that. I appreciate that. Hey, it's Oni. Where the hell have I been? I know. Honestly, I'm back. So, I better explain myself. Since November last year, a lot of personal shit went in the way. It hit the fan. and it stopped me from doing all my projects. Even though I'm resuming some projects now, and I have been editing the Autistic Delicatessen, I've been thinking about this for a while. When should I stop? Because I don't want to keep going if my brain's burning out and fizzling out and there's not as much enthusiasm. Despite me loving the show, I love talking to guests, and Larnell's great, and Belkie's been a great guest co-host. And me and Larnell and Belkie have been talking, and we've decided that Larnell and Belkie will be continuing on without me. However, season 5 I will be taking the back seat, and it'll be my last season working with the Autistic Delicatessen. I will be showing at some point in the next season. It'll be the last time, and it's I'm gonna cry, I know it. I think Belkie is going to be a fantastic host. I could not ask for a better host. Every episode I've edited with her in it, the enthusiasm she shows, and with the guests, her and Larnell and whatever guest, they all gel well together. They have great conversations, and I could not ask for anything more. So, Belkie, I appreciate you sitting on my seat once I leave. And Larnell, I hope things continue to grow for the Autistic Delicatessen, even if I'm not there. I'm glad I've been there in the start, and I'm glad this project of ours has made a difference for both of us, and I hope for you viewers too. I hope you've enjoyed all the episodes, whether it's podcasts or episodes. Until next time I see you guys, what you eat, what you drink is your story, and I hope to hear Belkie and Larnell say it soon. So, yeah, season 5 hype. You take care, guys.
And thanks for that, Only. Really appreciate your message for that. And for me, Belkie, I
know. It must be hard for you. It's been a long time.
Because I mentioned offhand with you, Belkie, that you never forget your day ones, and anybody that has worked on a project or anything like that, you always feel that, you don't want to forget the people that started out with you and has really been such an encouragement and such a collaboration. Yes. So we started this off of an idea, and then we've done it for 4 seasons, or really half a season right there and all that stuff.
And that's oof. That's a lot of time, a lot of time spent together, a lot of time coming up with, the show and how it's going to go. And, so,
yes.
And hopefully, they can visit in the future, right? It would be great if they can visit and, every once in a while, I don't know, we can try to bring them over.
Yeah. But the good news is with Oni, they say that, there's still going to be a video editor. So next season's going to be their last season.
Officially.
Yeah. So officially, even though Oni's gonna be in the background, we're still gonna have them be a part of our last show next season and all that stuff in terms of of the season. So yeah, but otherwise than that, again congratulations to Belkie for coming on board, and
we're gonna have
from
fun.
one era to a new era about this, which I feel kind of excited about, that I get to.
I am too. We'll have a lot of fun, and it'll be great. I'm excited.
Yes. So anyway, if you want to check out our past shows from this season or past seasons, please go on to theampliverse.com/the-autistic-delicatessen, as well as our podcast and others from the autisticdelicatessen.carrd.co, which is CARRD.co. And also check out, Belkie. Belkie's not going to leave her other thing, like a Belkie's voice. So don't worry, she's not going to drop everything and say I'm a part of this show. No. She's still going to do that.
I'm still going to do my other stuff. Yeah. Just, Belkie's Twist. You can find me anywhere. Just look it up, Belkie's Twist, and that's it.
And until next season,
what's on your plate is how we relate.